Hello, everybody, and welcome to Boostsa's Behind the Mettle. This is a show where we take you behind the scenes and talk to the people that keep this motorsport industry of ours running. We'll be talking to drivers, we'll be talking to mechanics, team owners, event organizers, everyone behind the scenes that keeps this motorsport industry ticking. In this episode of Behind the Mettle, we are going to chat to Mr. Ian Shrosbree, the creator of Simola Hillclimb, also known as Nice Hillclimb. Ian, welcome to Behind the Mettle.
Thank you, Jason. My pleasure to be here and chatting to you today.
I'm so excited. Look, Hillclimb is not that far away. Hillclimb is, I think, 22, 23 days away. What's your nerves and your blood pressure like at the moment?
Yeah, it's a bit too close, hey? It's crunch time. It's crunch time. We've got a lot of things in place, and the wheel turns, and over the years we've got systems in place that we run with, so it's not too bad. I think this year, and quite often, but this year one of the biggest challenges has been the budget, putting the budget together. Our costs have gone up a lot. Sponsorship is tight, so we're not where we wanted to be with sponsorship. So we kind of have to look at the budget very closely and see what are the non-essentials which we don't have to have, cut them. We've got a lot of things we'd like to do just to make the event better 100%. And a better experience. But at the end of the day, we have to be able to pay the bills. So it's always a bit of a balancing act, and this year's been particularly challenging. So it's
really?
That's where this grey hair comes from, and the rest
is that the excuse you're using? I just shave all of mine off because I don't feel like having the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot easier to shave it off, definitely.
100%. Yeah. Look, Ian, so I've been coming to Hillclimb for the longest time, and I've said it more than once. I honestly think that Simola Hillclimb is one of the most incredible events that I wouldn't even say African continent has to offer. It really is. I've been fortunate enough to have attended a lot of events run by the FIA, local everyday events, just a little car meet down the road. I've been to all of them. I've even organized some of them myself. And look, I've just got to say, I think I echo the sentiments of a lot of people. It is just the most well put together event that we have every year. I make sure that I'm there. I do whatever I can to be there, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. I do know that it's difficult being behind the scenes of this kind of thing, but at the level that Simola Hillclimb is, I can just imagine the stuff you guys are going through. But you've got such an awesome team, and I've met all of them, at this point, and such a great bunch of people. So you really got those wheels greased properly. But one of my questions is, I think I started attending every single year from about 2011, I think it was. When did Hillclimb start? When was the first one?
Yeah, so Jason, I actually almost thought that you've been there since day one, because you have been around for such a long time. But we started in 2009. That was the first one. Yeah. It all came about really as a result of the financial crisis in 2008. Knysna, its economy relies on tourism and building, construction. And, after 2008, they both took a bit of a dive. And a bunch of us got together and said, what can we do to bring people to town? And we were all petrol heads, and there was a hill there, and we said, well, let's try hill climbing. And that's kind of, that was the seed for the event. And and then we've just taken it from there. First year we thought, let's just see if it works. Managed to get Sorrow van der Merwe to come and compete, and Sorrow won it. He just put
in the Mustang, eh? That first year with 2009, he was in the Mustang.
Yes, correct. Yeah. He's in one of those Ashley Mustangs. Yeah.
Yes.
That was brilliant for us at Sorrow had been here, and then he won it. It was kind of PR we couldn't buy. That kind of, that made us decide, okay, let's carry on with this then. And then we set some goals as what we wanted to achieve with it, and how we wanted to run it. And over the years, we've worked very hard to try and achieve that. And our goals have changed as the events developed. And our whole ethos, we've got a couple, but the main one is that everyone must have fun. and that includes the competitors, the spectators, the media, the organisers, absolutely everyone. That's an ethos, and I think that's what's kept the event being what it is in a lot of ways. It's obviously competitive at the front end, but at the same time, we don't like protests and fighting and arguing and all that kind of thing. And so I think that's what makes it work.
Being motorsport, and because of the kind of personalities involved in motorsport, and also the amount of money that gets spent behind the scenes, not by yourself, but by the drivers, the owners, the team owners of the cars. The guys have got a lot invested there. So tensions can run high, and I've seen the protests and things, and that's something that you just have to balance out. That's just part and parcel of motorsport. Has always been there, and it's not going anywhere. But you're 100% right. Every single year that I've been at Hillclimb, it's fun. It just is a joy of a time, and I love being there. But you started 2009, right? It seemed like the perfect storm. You had a hill that just happened to be in Knysna. You are from Knysna, financial crisis. Knysna needed people coming across and supporting the town, and this all worked out. But why motorsport? What is it that what is your experience with motorsport, and what made you decide to not have like a big fishing competition on the bay or something? Why motorsport?
Well, firstly, I find fishing damn boring. It's too slow. But secondly, jokes aside, no, look, I've got a long history in motorsport. My passion for the sport. So firstly, I grew up, my dad was a car dealer, but he wasn't particularly mad on motorsport. So I grew up with cars from the day I was born, and always loved it. And my passion for motorsport started before television days, when I listened to the SA Grand Prix on radio.
Be careful, Ian. You're going to give away your age here, but be careful.
I am, yeah. So listening 1973, listening to these V8s and the Ferrari flat 12 screaming down Kyalami Straight, just that sound and the excitement. And we obviously had Jody Scheckter in the field as well. And it just appealed to me. It just flicked a switch in my head. And from that moment on, I was a fan, and I just wanted to go watch a Grand Prix. I started reading about it in the paper every Monday. We had to wait for what was going on in the world of Formula One via newspapers, and that was what ignited the passion. And then I decided early on I wanted to race. So when I was at school, I used to work in holidays and buy motorbikes. And I grew up in Nelspruit. There wasn't really a kart track, but I bought a little kart and fiddled with it. And then I went to university, and I'd saved up money through holidays, school holidays, that I always knew I wanted to race. I bought a Formula V, and I raced as a student and on student money for a few years. Then I raced Formula Fords, and I've done bits and pieces of racing over time. And then I wanted to get into sports marketing and particularly focus on motorsport. It was a very young industry at that point in time. Mm-hmm. So I didn't quite get that right at the time. But later on in life, I got involved with organising events, and I was involved with the World Motocross Grand Prix at Sun City. I've worked on A1 Grand Prix. I've worked on superbikes, powerboat racing. I was also on Formula Ford committees. I was on the MSA board of directors for a while. So I've had I had a good history in terms of organising motorsport events.
So Hillclimb wasn't your first rodeo?
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. And then I'd also been a motoring journo for a while. So I knew a lot of people through that. Yeah.
Okay. So that sort of gives an idea of how this whole thing came together, and it sort of makes sense. It was just a perfect storm, with you being the personality, having the access to the knowledge and the track and the area that needed. So where that is now is we've got one of the best motorsport events that South Africa has to offer. What is this event about? When you look at the meat and bones, if someone comes from the outside, they say, "Oh, my friend said to me, there's cars that race up the hill. What kind of cars are here? What do they do? How do you come first? Who wins?" I think one of the questions is, how long is the event? Is it a 3-day event, being the Friday for Classic Car Friday and then the Saturday and Sunday for the hill climb? How does that all come together?
Yeah, so it's actually a 4-day event, but we have 3 days of track action, if that makes any sense. So we have a fan fest in town, and that starts on the Thursday. Yeah, and so what we try to do with that is, because I believe in taking motorsport to the people and not just making it available to people who can afford to go to the hill. And although our ticket price is cheap, there are a lot of people that can't afford that. So we decided very early, from I think the first one, we had like a parade through town, and we had the cars on display from the very first one. And so we do the scrutineering in town on the Thursday for our classic cars, and then they do a parade. We used to go right through town, but it got a bit dangerous, so we just block off a section of road now, and the guys do burnouts and do a parade. And then the classic cars race on Friday, and while they racing, the King of the Hill cars are doing their fan fest and the parade and so on. So
which from a media perspective is killing me, because I'm here with the classic cars, but I know the supercars are in town, but I want to get both. I can't tear myself both ways. I need to decide where I want to be. Okay, so on Friday, you've got Classic Car Friday. That's when all the classic cars run up the hill. What is the oldest car you guys have there that usually comes? I think it's, I forget the name, but I think it's something from the 1930s or something. Or have I got that wrong?
Yeah, so the oldest car we've had was a 1927 Bugatti.
Yes, the one with the aeroplane engine.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and subsequently we've got a few old Rileys, we've got old DKW. There are 1930s, 1940s, and 1950 old MGs. So we have quite a few more pre-war cars. Quite a lot that come every time. So before 1939, actually, there's a good field of cars. Let's say 30s and 40s that come to the event, and then a lot of regulars.
You know what's nice about that? The Classic Car Friday. Obviously, you're coming. As you go up through the years, you get faster cars. You get the really old pre-war classics, which are wonderful to just look at. We're not expecting them to chase and murder up the hill and do it in 37 seconds like the Gold does, But even if it takes 10 minutes to get to the top, which they sometimes do, it's so nice to just watch these cars saying, look, this car is 100 years old, but it's still going up this 2-kilometer long hill. That's amazing to see.
Yeah, and that's what we've tried to do again. We're trying to cater to everybody in terms of competitors and also from spectators and fans. Everyone remembers their favorite old car, whether you're a bit older and it is a pre-war car or an MG, or whether it's a 70s Datsun 240Z or a Toyota Corolla. Or you watch Group N race in the 90s. We really want to showcase the African motorsport. Mostly, and some of the older cars, but really the cars that competed in motorsport in South Africa from the earliest days, and that's what's cool about the hill climb, is that we can cater to everybody, and we can change things and allow. We run to a set of rules, but our classes are very broad to allow us as wide and broader field as possible, and I think that people love it. There's a huge, obviously, classic car movement in the world nowadays that's growing. Historic cars, classic cars. So Classic Car Friday caters for that very clearly, and it's huge. It's growing. We see every year there's more people coming on Friday to watch, and there's a lot of enthusiasm.
100%. Look, I love Classic Car Friday. It's just weird that with I don't know how you got the dates, but I am guaranteed driving from Cape Town into Knysna, Thursday, Friday, it's going to be damp at the very least. A little bit. It's going to happen. And then on Saturday morning, little bit of sprinkle here and there, and then eventually the track will dry out. And Sunday is go time. Track is dry. Guys are taking off the wet tires, putting on the dry tires. It's just a crazy roller coaster of every single situation in one weekend. Dry weather, wet weather, changing setups, and this is what I encourage people to do. When people ask me, listen, are you going to Simola this year? I say, I'm going every year. They say, okay, so what ticket should I get? I say, get the pit pass ticket. Whatever, if you're able to get any ticket, if you are able to get the pit pass, that's the one that you should get, because you are allowed to get up and close to the cars that you love seeing. You're able to see the mechanics work on these things. You're able to see the teams. And the amount of energy inside the pit area is second to none. That you have to experience it. You really do. So that's always what
I agree with. I agree with you. The pit area and the start line is so there's so much energy there. I mean, we'd love to have the pits open to everybody, but just from a safety perspective and controlling
Also, it just gets
numbers,
too much.
we've had to make it
100%.
ticketed. Because I do believe I'm a firm believer in young kids being able to sit in the car and talk to the drivers. That's where the passion starts. So having them around the cars is important. But yeah, you're right. The pit areas, you can talk to anybody. Last year, as Peter Solberg was here, and anybody could go up and talk to him. Mika Salo
was there as well.
Yeah, so it's so relaxed and so chilled, and you can meet the drivers, look at the cars, and then there's that energy off the line where these cars just like literally the quicker ones, especially, just shoot off the line. I'm always amazed by that energy of that start line and the burnout zone and so on.
The start line, because of my years and sort of the role I've played within the media aspect of Hillclimb, I know a lot of the drivers, I know a lot of the teams, so I see what these guys are going through. I see when the car got there on Friday morning or whatever, and I've seen their practices, and I've seen their runs, and I've seen their times get faster, and then I've seen the gearbox break, and then I've seen the engine fall apart, and I've watched these guys scramble to try and get this car up and running for the next run, which is into 5 minutes time. And it's being there to see that behind it gives you a whole new outlook on motorsport itself and the hill climb. So I think that's amazing. But there's something you mentioned earlier that I wanted to touch on. So you've got Classic Car Friday, right? But what a lot of people do come for is King of the Hill. So you've got Saturday, which is basically practice, and then towards the end of Saturday, you do qualifying, or is that first?
We started qualifying towards the end. Yeah, there's. I should know this off by heart, but I think there's five practice sessions in the morning and early afternoon, and then we have 3 qualifying sessions on Saturday, and then on Sunday there's a warm up, and then another 3 qualifying sessions before we go into the class finals.
Got you. But now, before we even get there, right? These drivers and these teams need to enter. So now, I think you've done an amazing job with the classes that you have. I mean, really, most everybody is catered for with regards to class, with regards to normally aspirated, turbocharged, class of cars, supercars, road-going cars, that kind of thing. You've done very well with that. My question is, how many, if you look at Classic Car Friday, on Friday, how many Classic Car entrants are allowed for the day?
65. So
on Classic Cars.
On Classic Car Friday, 65.
All right.
And then 84 for King of the Hill. And we could theoretically fit 84 cars. That's how much space we've got for pits in Classic Car Friday. But again, we want to offer value and we want to offer fun. So if we had to squeeze 84 cars in, guys would have 2 runs less on Friday. And as you said, they come a long way. They spend a lot of money. We want to give them value. So we that's why we limit the number of cars so that everyone gets a fair run up the hill. So we cap it at 65.
Okay. And if I may ask, what is the criteria for entering? I mean, you've got certain classes. I mean, you've got everything from your regular road going Hondas up to GTR R35s to the gold cars, like under Behind notes gold. There's such a variety of vehicles there. What is the criteria for entry, if I may ask?
So there's no real criteria as such for entering. So what we do is we run a process. Ultimately, it's like an invite event, but we open applications, as we call it, in October every year, and anybody can put their entry in, look at the classes and put an entry in for the car or an application. Then what we do is we sit down and we look at that. And we look at it from a number of aspects. We look at it from the drivers, the car itself, how many cars of that type or not are in the class.
That's what I thought,
And we also, I always use the analogy of a movie. We'd never want to show the same movie every year because people get bored. But we need Tom Cruise and Julia Roberts in the movies because they're the star attractions. So that's why Franco and Andre are always back there because they are the stars of the show. But behind that, we try and change the narrative and the supporting cast and so on. So if we've got it, and then we look at it, we go, okay, well, you know what, there are 20 GTRs. Do we need 20 GTRs in one class? No, we don't.
Sure.
So we'll select, let's say, 10 and give 10 slots to other people who possibly haven't been there. So we look at it from a number of different factors, try and mix and match, all with the view that, you know, our fans are coming to the event. They want to see new stuff. They want to see exciting stuff. They don't want to see the same thing every year. And I must say that sometimes gets us. Sorry, I was just going to say that sometimes gets us into trouble, because guys who've been there for 3, 4, 5 years or more, we suddenly say, no, we want somebody new to come in. We're like, but we've been there every year. And they get upset with us, you know. But, so we're not always
from the outside,
but we have to do what's best for the event at the end of the day. And that's really, those are our guiding principles.
Okay.
Sorry, you were going to say something, yeah.
No, so that does make a lot of sense, right? And you're right. I've been there for all the years that I have been. I've been fortunate enough to see, you know, how the event has evolved from year to year to year, and how the decision making that you've got by keeping it fresh and keeping it alive has made a difference. I mean, I see every single car that goes up there every single year because we're shooting them, right? And you can see, okay, so he's here every single year. He's been here for so many, but that car's new, that car's new, that car's new. It's a sort of a different one in that kind of class, you know, so it really is keeping the event fresh. Another question. So if I look at 2011, 2009 to 2011, the cars that were going up the hill there were cars like Mitsubishi Evos. There were a ton of Nissan has been early years. Nissan was dominating a lot of the time with the R34s. Des Goodside had an R32, which I absolutely love. I've always been a big fan. But we have technology. Time moves on. Cars get better. Cars get faster. And things have started changing as the years gone through. At the moment now, you see domination of the GTRs. And that's not only at Hillclimb. That's across the board in many motorsports. Yeah. And then... but with that happening, there's cars like Andre Bezuidenhout. If I can just pull up, give me 1 second. If I can just pull up the slide here quickly. So just while we are here, this is what the that looks like, what we were saying earlier on, like the Italian Grand Prix pit area once they open it up. You know, it gets busy there. That's the start line. Those are the drivers before the weekend gets going. I'm not sure if it's Classic Car Friday.
Yeah, that's classic. That is Classic Car Friday.
It is Classic Car. I thought so. And then, so King of the Hill last year, and I think 2 years in a row.
It's 3 years now. If I'm not, I think,
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Andre Bezuidenhout in his gold GR55, and I mean, the minute he jumped onto the scene, he started dominating. Prior to that, I think it was Franco Scribanti that was getting King of the Hill off. And have I got that right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so Franco was winning it in his other Chevron, the B26.
The B26, yeah.
Yeah, so he won it for a couple of years, and then Andre bought this gold in, and yeah, obviously, you know, being a proper single seater, it's super quick up the hill, and Andre drives it very well, and you know, he's brought that laptop down and down and down. And, you know, I thought it was going to take us a good few years to break the 200k an hour average speed. And Andre got there a lot quicker. You know, he said 2022 was the fastest. 2023 last year, there was a bit of damp and a bit of, he didn't break the record. But 2022, you know, he went up in 34.1 seconds.
Was it 34.1?
34.1, yeah.
37 something. Last year was 37, I think.
Yeah, last year was slower. Definitely. So the record, the record 34.161, and 1.9 Ks from a standing start. You know, and to get an average speed from a standing start of 200, his average speed was 200.228 Ks an hour. So it's mind blowing. You know, to crack that 200k an hour barrier was quite something.
It's sort of like, look, I don't want to say it out loud, but at the end of the day, he's sort of, it's not a race as we like to think of a race, because there aren't several cars chasing each other. You're basically chasing yourself and chasing your time. But the other guys, your other competitors, are chasing your time. And the closest time to that, as we stand, is Franco Scribanti in his GTR R35. But he's on 39.8, I think. somewhere there. Have I got it right?
Yeah, I think the year before he was also, I think he did a 38. When Andre did the 34, I think Franco did a 38. I think he did a 39 last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So if you look at last year's times, you look at Andre, I think he had 37.5 and Franco had 39. It's still 2-second difference which in motorsport is an eternity, if we're honest. It's a big gap.
It is. And that's why, you can't, it's so difficult to compare single-seater to even a highly modified race car, because the single-seater just is going to be that much quicker. So that's why we, over time, as we've evolved, we used to just have a king of the hill and one winner.
Yes.
And then we realized that, we've got standard production cars, we've got modified. So initially we split it and said, single-seaters and sports cars and got a king of the hill. And then saloon cars got a king of the hill. But then we broke it down even further, and we made modified saloons and standard saloons, because like the JP van der Walt's in a Porsche, road-going Porsche. So the standard's a road-going car. So we've got those three categories within King of the Hill now. And I think that's fair, just because the cars are so different,
Of course.
So what we do need, though, is we need one or two more guys to import a Gould or a Formula One or something, and go up against
to give us money.
Yeah, because Franco now's got great competition from Richard and from Peter Zeely. Between the three of them, it's so close, and we need to get some competition for Andre in the single-seater category. Robert Volk's not far off, but his car is not the same. It's heavier and it's older technology. So he's not far off, but we need a few guys in a good car.
Another question that I've got is, and I've always wondered, and I hope you're okay to answer this one. Look, we're involved with motorsport, right? There's always going to be an element of danger, right? But the safety protocols at Simola Hillclimb are second to none. You've got MSA involved. Is there any FIA involvement with Hillclimb at all or not? Is it all MSA?
So no, MSA obviously been linked to FIA. There is a FIA involvement, not directly in terms of track safety, but I reached out to the FIA before COVID, because they run what they call the FIA Masters every 2 years, and in Europe, and basically that started off being all the European champions could come together to see who was the best, and then I reached out to them, and they'd heard of the hill climb and managed to get them to agree that our winners from our hill climb for 2 years could go and compete in the FIA Masters, even though we were the only standalone event. And we were the first event outside of Europe that got an invite for that.
Nice.
And we were all set to do that in 2020, and it was running in the end of 2020, in October, November. And then obviously COVID came along, so it kind of scuppered that. And unfortunately, the Masters event hasn't bounced back from the FIA's point of view. But we fall under the FIA statutes, not the classes, because their classes are very restrictive. So we don't run to FIA classes. But obviously from a safety point of view, via MSA, we run to make it as safe as possible. I must say,
they run a very tight ship.
Yeah, absolutely. So, our first priority is safety of spectators, and that's why we keep everyone up on the embankment, behind fences. You know what happened at Ceres, we don't want that kind of an accident. So our first priority is to keep spectators safe. Secondly, it's to keep the drivers as safe as possible. But I'll put a caveat to that, is that, as you said, motorsport's dangerous, and also it is a hill climb. It's not a circuit race. So, like a rally special stage, you guys are rallying through a forest or along a mountain pass. If you have an accident, you go into the trees or you fall off a mountain pass, and a hill climb is pretty much the same. It's a long drop.
The long drop coming around turn 2, just before the bridge. I don't remember what year this was, but this was I think it was on the Friday. Course was still a little bit damp, and cars were coming around there, and I think it was it was a Volkswagen Sirocco, if I remember correctly. On the right-hand side, it goes just off the road and you go down. It's just over and down. right?
Yeah.
What is the rule there? And look, I've been hearing it from the outside. The guys have been saying, listen, it's a Friday, okay? Or it's a Saturday. The race has to go on Sunday. They just we don't have the capacity or the ability to pick your car up out of this ravine, and get it. So you just have to wait on Monday till Monday to come fetch your car. Is this how it is?
No, we retrieve the cars either at lunchtime or at the end of every day. So we've never left a car overnight.
Okay.
Yeah, in the thing. So what we don't do is we don't delay a session, because again, the crowd comes to watch action. So if a car goes down over the bank, we'll leave it there until a bit later and pull it out. So that we can keep the action going for the crowd. If we have to take an hour or 2 hours to pull a car out the trees, the crowd's going to get agitated and bored and so on. So we don't want to do that. So we try and keep the action going.
Okay. And then with the actual racing, right? So from a spectator's point of view, you're standing at the start line or you're up in one of the VIP areas, wherever you are. The cars have all got transponders. So you see, I wanted to say the Knysna Hillclimb course. The Simola Hillclimb course is 1.98 kilometers or thereabouts. Have I got that right?
Yeah, just over 1.9 years.
Just over 1.9. Okay, so when the car starts, okay, you've got the guy in front with the flag. He waves you off, drops the flag. The flag is not your cue. You can still park there for 2 or 3 seconds. You can get your anti-lag going. You can idle your car up. You can only once your car moves forward and breaks the beam, that's when your time starts. Is that correct? If you can maybe just explain that to everyone.
Yes. Yeah. So the beam's about, I think about 3 meters past the line.
Okay.
And we did that from early days just to take away the human error thing. So the flag's more ceremonial.
Yes.
And various people have asked us to have more of a running start. Pikes Peak run a running start, a proper running start, but we haven't wanted to do that. And if you look at the hill climbs in Europe and that too, they kind of the beam's not always right on the line. So we just kind of put it a little off the line just for a bit of space. And around the line there's also a lot of human activity and so on. So if the marshals are breaking the beam before the car gets going, so we're just trying to make it as accurate as possible. I guess that's probably the right way to put it. So it's not based on the flagman waving or half waving or when do you push the start button, when he starts from the top or he's halfway down or not. So we're just trying to take those split seconds. In the early days, for the first
seconds of a count, eh?
Yeah. So for the first 8 years, I think we ran the event. The average winning time was over the whole 8 years was 0.3 seconds. So every little fraction counts. So we're just trying to eliminate human error and anything that can affect it. So that's the main reason why we just put the beams where there's no people, there's no room for error, and it just allows us to be as accurate as possible.
Yeah. When people say that fractions of a second and split seconds don't count, have them go say that to the podiums at the Grand Prix and see what kind of answer you get.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at so much racing, be it MotoGP or NASCAR or whatever. It's so tight. And as I say, in a lot of our classes, it's super tight. Look at Richard and Franco last year.
It was so
Richard won the class final and Franco won the main final, and it was literally Richard made a little mistake, lost 0.1 of a second, and that cost him the King of the Hill title. So split seconds count, definitely.
Absolutely. So that gives us a good idea of what we can expect. So Hillclimb, 22 days away, 22 days away from the 2nd to the 5th of May. How can people get tickets?
So tickets are available to pre-buy via our website, and that's simolahillclimb.com, not .co.za.com. There's a link up on that, and you can just click and buy tickets via Howler. I must say the ticket sales this year, we're like 140% up on last year at the same time. Wow. It's unbelievable. It's insane. We can't believe it. So tickets are selling well. So you can buy up front via our website. you can also buy at the gate, but then you might not get pit tickets. You might not get a grandstand ticket, because last year we sold out of pit tickets. We sold out of grandstand tickets. So I do recommend that people buy in advance.
Okay. And then just something I wanted to ask before I asked you about the tickets. From all of these years of you hosting Hillclimb and putting it together, what is, if you look at a weekend, you look at a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if you had to choose a moment during those 4 days that really usually sticks with you from every weekend, what is your favorite part about making Hillclimb happen?
There are a lot of moments, but I think it all boils down to what I alluded to up front, is seeing people have fun. What gives me the greatest joy is just watching people's faces, and obviously it builds up to Sunday, that last run, because there's so much tension in those last runs. And then to see when the guys set those times and people are cheering and loving it and just enjoying it. So, for me, and again, to see the competitors, the joy on the competitors' face. For me, it's what motivates me is to bring that kind of happiness to people through motorsport, because I'm a motorsport fan. I know what I've got out of it. And so, just to see that happiness on people's faces, the excitement, and that's my motivator.
Okay, and look, you're doing a very good job at just that. Over these years, I mean, it's gotten better and better. And I say it all the time, and I'll say it again. If somebody said to me, Jason, you've got to put your cameras down, you cannot go to any other motorsport event, you have to just choose one. Choose one motorsport event to go to. It's always going to be Simola Hillclimb. Always.
Thank you, Jason. I mean, I've always appreciated your support and your enthusiasm, and it's always great to have you here. So I'm pleased we're successful and we keep you coming back.
So finally, before I let you go, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to with regards to your team? Maybe the website, where can people go to? I think you mentioned Simola Hillclimb.com, and it's a very good website. It's nice and intuitive. Everything is there, all the years, the competitors list. I think you just also this morning I saw the email came through for the finalized the final drivers list that also just got launched today.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So you guys can see all of that on the website. If you were trying to say it again, what is that website?
Yeah, so it's Simola Hillclimb, one word.com.
Okay, so Simola Hillclimb.com, and then
and just as you said, Jason, we've got a great team here. This event's not about me; it's about the team we have that put it together, and that's from our permanent staff. We work on this thing all year round. It's our permanent staff and I mean our permanent staff's small. We I say permanent. We almost all got other day jobs, half jobs, whatever. We kind of spread resources, but from that core team to volunteers, we have a lot of volunteers, to suppliers. It's all what brings it together. It's not one person or a few people. It's everybody. And over the whole weekend, we have about 600 people working to put the event on. So it's quite a challenge, and logistically, as you know, it's a challenge. So just a big thank you to the team and everybody who's involved in making it happen. And then obviously our partners, manufacturers this year, Suzuki have been a great partner for the last couple of years, Volkswagen this year, and Castrol, they are our primary partners in the event. And then the other manufacturers who compete in, BMW are competing, and Mercedes are competing this year as well, with Official and Hyundai. Hyundai also give us all our media vans, as you know, take people up the hill. So really, again, without all of them and their support, we couldn't put it on. And finally, never forget the competitors. They're the guys who spend the money to come and put the show on, and always very grateful to them for doing that and for seeing value in the event and wanting to come back and put on a good show. So so thanks to everybody, and thanks to the media. You and your colleagues. Again, the event, much of its success has been through your support. So we really appreciate and we're grateful for that.
Well, we appreciate you and everyone that you've mentioned for putting this event together, because by doing that, even if people have asked me, look, if you didn't take photos, I would still attend the events. I still attend the events because I love being at the events, and the way you guys have put the event together is just, like you mentioned, it's just enjoyable and it's fun to be at. And I cannot wait for the next one in just a few weeks' time. I think 21 or 22 days. Ian, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you doing this. What was meant to be a 10-minute podcast ended up being 40 minutes. I do apologize. I'm sorry.
Brilliant.
I thought we'd get by.
A good chat, yeah. And pleasure to be with you, Jason. And thanks for the support again.
Guys and girls, Ian, thank you so much once again. Guys, we are going to come back at you with more. This first one was to give you an idea of Hillclimb. The next episode of Behind the Mettle, we are going to start chatting to drivers and the race teams, the guys behind the metal of the cars that you see going up the hill. So, guys, stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you all soon. Ian, thanks so much. We will see you soon.
Yes, thank you. Bye.